Hey YouTube, today we're going to be talking about a little bit of a controversial pistol, and what we got here in front of us, we have a Smith and Wesson SD9 VE, and it's chambered in 9mm. And before we go any further, I'm going to show you that this pistol does not have anything in it, and we are clear to make this video. So what we have here, this is a Smith and Wesson SD9 VE, and this is chambered in 9mm. I'll show you some of the markings on it. And this pistol has a little bit of controversy in its history, and that this was the very first pistol that Smith and Wesson decided to make out of polymer. So it has a polymer frame and it has a stainless steel slide on top of it. So what happened here was these came out in 1994, and this was almost a direct copy of the Glock. At the time, Glock was the only one making a polymer frame striker-fired pistol, and Smith & Wesson decided to throw its hat in the ring. And when they did so, it was so similar to the way that Glock was designed that Glock actually sued Smith & Wesson over these, and Glock ultimately won, and they got a settlement. And I believe part of that settlement was they had to pay a premium for every pistol that they sold, and Smith & Wesson did not care. I think they just paid it to Glock. Every pistol they sold, they had to pay them like a royalty on them in order to sell their pistols, and it was fine because Smith & Wesson sold so many of these things because they were cheaper than a Glock. So basically what you have here is you have a full-size frame and a full-size slide. It's a full-size 9mm gun. They also make these in .40 caliber, and it holds 17 rounds of 9mm in the magazine. It has a metal magazine, has a large lip on the end of it where you can rip these magazines out in case of a malfunction. And I'm going to attempt to do this here on camera, folks, but this thing, you take it, you check to see if it's loaded, you pull it back, and you take the same two takedowns that you do on a Glock, and it takes down the same exact way. I mean, this thing is identical to the way a Glock is constructed and the way it operates, and you just stick it back together just like this. Now, if you look at them side by side, they don't really look the same, but the way they're constructed, they're exactly the same. And today, in today's modern times, almost every gun is like that because most of Glock's patents have run out and everything. But basically, these guns were introduced in 1994, and it was called the Sigma. And then soon thereafter, the assault weapons ban came out. You know, the wonderful Clinton administration made an assault weapons ban. So they made a different version of it. I don't remember what it was called, but it only held 10 rounds. And Smith & Wesson was a big part of that Clinton administration stuff, you know, when they started putting their key locks on there. And then this one is a more improved one. This one is called the SD9VE. It supposedly has a little bit better improved trigger on it and a little bit better grip design. And to be honest with you, this thing has like more like a 1911 triggering or a grip angle on it. So it is, to me, a little bit more comfortable to hold than a Glock in the hand. So these things are relatively inexpensive. You can get these way cheaper. You can get a Glock, and I don't know why there's a stigma running around that nobody wants one of these things. And I can't tell you why, because they operate fine. They're very comfortable holding your hand. They hold quite a bit of ammunition. This is a great, very cheap range gun. It has a 3-dot sight system here, and you can also use it for home defense. So if you wanted a very inexpensive range gun, I mean, this is probably the way to go. So I'm going to show you this trigger pull here. It's got a little safety here on the end. If you look at the very end of this, that has to be depressed. If you grab the trigger at the top, it will not go off. But I'm going to show you the trigger pull on it. It's not the greatest, but most striker fires are not. It's a little bit heavier than a Glock, in my opinion. And the reset, it's got a little bit longer of a reset, and there it is, a little bit of a take up to it. So, like I said, you can pick these up relatively inexpensive, and it's a lot cheaper option than maybe a Glock 17 or something like that. I'm going to do a video. I'm going to show you them side by side and why they got sued over this. But it had a controversial start to them, and they were a pretty hot commodity when they came out. Today, not so much. People just have a bad taste in their mouth about them, and I just do not know why. I mean, they paid the royalty to Glock, settled with them, and everything like that. One of the other differences in this newer Model 1 than the original ones, this one has a Picatinny rail on them. Same as Glock. Glocks, when they first came out with the Generation 1s and Generation 2, didn't have all this fancy rail on it to attach all the stuff on them, because people used to have more brains than they have now, and they didn't want to attach everything under the sun to their pistols. But now in today's times, people want to do that. So this being a newer one, you know, it has pretty good texturing on it here. I mean, it's really grippy in your hand. It's got these front serrations for all the press checkers out there that like to press check their weapons. And I don't know, it's just overall, I think it's pretty good pistols. Pretty good pistol here. So anyway, I just wanted to show you this little cheaper Smith and Wesson 9mm and get your opinion on it and give you a little bit of the history on it. This was the first breakthrough into polymer pistols that was not a Glock. So anyway, folks, if you have any questions on this little gun here, feel free to reach out to me. I'm not an expert on Smith and Wesson polymer pistols, but I'll be happy to answer anything that you ask. Thank you very much for watching my video today, and you folks have a great day.